Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic, following up. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. Following up is so important, guys. First off, it is not being annoying. It is simply just professional communication. That's it. And so it's important to remember that in following up, you are reinforcing your interest in the position, you are showing reliability, and also emotional intelligence. Checking to see if we are live, and it appears that we are. And I can hear me, so everything's working right. Excellent. Um, Also, some hiring decisions are made, and they're very, very close. They're like very close. Like, they like you, but they also like the other candidate as well. A good, well constructed follow up email is something that can make the difference between you and the other candidate. But you do need to follow up. I I actually lost a job one time because I did not follow up. Here's what happened. I had a friend who was a recruiter, and he was friends with a center manager at another staffing company. And I already knew this guy. Like, I had hung out with him and my recruiting buddy a couple of times socially, just getting drinks at the bar or whatever, and or lunch. So I already knew this guy kind of, and so they were hiring for a recruiter position, and we all went to lunch together and talked about the position, and then we went back to the office. He kind of showed me around the office, and that was it. And then for some reason, I don't remember the reason why. Like, I don't know, the internet was down or something. This is before we had iPhones. Um, and so, sorry, the chat's gonna starting to move there. Thank you, Basha. She likes the new background. She was here when we installed it. Actually, did it, or she didn't do it, but was here. Good morning, Chandra. Good morning, Rhonda Robinson. Sandra Dixon, thank you for watching. Charmaine, hello. Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Yolanda. And Fred Needham. Thanks. All right. Yo, y'all are on it today in the chat. Love it. If you have any questions, throw them in there. I'll kind of try to monitor it as I'm doing this. So, for whatever the reason, I did not follow up. And then my buddy called me like later that afternoon, the next day, and he's like, "What the hell, Hopper?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You didn't send an email like thanking him for lunch because he bought lunch and showing your interest." I was like, and I again said whatever I said in the excuse. He's like, "Well, he's not interested now." I ended up not getting it. Like, this should have been a dunker. Like this job, I was probably the only candidate at that point that they had seen. Again, already kind of knew the guy as an acquaintance. Didn't follow up. Didn't get the position because of it. You've got to follow up, guys. Good rule of thumb. Make sure that you email whomever's in the interview before close of business that day. Okay? I say whomever is in the interview because there may be other people in the interview. But whoever is there, everybody gets their own email on the follow-up. Okay? Don't be lazy and CC other people. Everybody gets their own email. Also, too, if you don't have, like, let's say, for example, you interviewed with Charlie, and also Bill was there too, but you only got a business card from Charlie. You still have Bill's email. Got it? Because after the @ sign, everything else is the same. And now you know the format on the beginning, right? Because it's Charlie Cox at FedEx.com. So you know what it is now. It's right. So email Bill. You have his email now too. Okay. Everybody gets their own email. Do it before close of business on that day that you interviewed. Now, if you interviewed later in the day, like at 4 o'clock and business ends at 5, like they finish your interview and then everybody's walking out the door, it's totally okay to email that next morning. That's fine. But try to get it in within that 24-hour window, okay, before close of business. How should the thank you email look? Well, first, I think it's a great idea to start off the email with that personal thing that you and the hiring manager and or recruiter clicked with. There's going to be something, right? Typically, there's just a little bit of small talk at the beginning. Everybody's like, hey, how are you today? Oh, I'm great. How are you? Okay. Well, everybody, we all do that. That's just how we communicate as humans is, how are you? And if it's an in-person thing and they're taking you to a conference room or an office, there's usually just a little bit of, between there and walking, there's a little bit of that filler, right? And so whatever it is, and that you kind of connected with the person on, that's what you want to lead with in the email. Too many people usually just jump right into, hey, thank you so much for your time today. I want to express my interest in the position. Yeah, okay, great. But if you started out with the personal thing, that's going to get you remembered. Because, guys, let's face it, most thank you emails are pretty generic and the same. It's all, thank you for much. So thank you for your time today. I'm interested in the position. Look forward to talking to you soon. And there's other stuff in between. But that's typically what the follow-up email is. I think what's a good idea is, again, start it with that personal thing, then thank them for their time, and then state why you are the best candidate for the position. Right? This is going to be kind of like a written version of your closing statement. So your closing statement in the interview should be, if we're going for a fairly simple close, should be, thank you so much for your time today. I'm interested in the position. I think I'd be a good fit for the team because you said you need somebody that can do A, B, and C, and I've done X, Y, and Z. You just compare yourself, remind them that you can solve that problem for them. Okay, I think it's a good idea to go to the store and get some blank and generic thank you notes, thank you cards, right? So send that in the mail, try to do that again, same day. It'll get there 2 to 3 days later. You haven't lost any time, and it's just a nice reminder. By the way, this is something that we used to do as a standard practice. You would go and interview and you would send a thank you note. But the pandemic pretty much killed all that because we were in quarantine. And now we're not. But still, the practice hasn't really become popular again. So sending a thoughtful thank you note through snail mail really sets you apart from the competition. And when you're doing job search stuff, that is what is ideal, is being noticed and doing something different. Things to avoid in your thank you note or in your email: templates, right? Recruiters, you can smell a template a mile away, right? So stay away from templates. Also, don't be desperate, right? Companies don't hire people that are desperate. So make sure that you are using the right language. Now, let's say you have emailed them before close of business that day. You also dropped a thank you note into the postal service, and now you haven't heard anything back. What you gonna do? Well, the next thing to do is like wait 5 to 7 business days and then send another email and follow up with them again. Anything more than that seems a little bit pushy, but 1 week from the time of your interview, one business week, right? So it's like if you interviewed on a Wednesday at 3, wait until, and you don't hear anything, wait until the following Wednesday at 3 and send another email. This email should lead with curiosity, not pressure, and again, not desperation. So it should be a little bit shorter and should kind of go like this. Hey, Rob, it's been a week since I interviewed for the project manager position. Just wanted to let you know I'm still available and I'm still interested in the position. Just curious and want to know if I'm still a candidate. Look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks, Jason. Real simple, real short. Again, we're just asking for information. That's it. Now, here's something to remember. If the interviewer or the hiring manager, either one, if they say, okay, you know, we'll be making a decision and you should hear back from us by Friday. Okay. Well, if you don't hear anything by Friday from them, wait 1 to 2 business days. I'm going to suggest 1. And the following Monday, email them and see what's going on. They gave you a specific timeline. They said, "Hey, we'll make a decision. We'll get back to you by this day." If they don't do it, they don't meet their commitment. It's more than okay for you to follow up and email them. I just said at the beginning, following up is just professional communication. They should be able to meet their deadline and follow up with you when appropriate and when they tell you to. Now, that email, again, should be leading with curiosity. Just remind them, hey, Rick, you guys said that you were going to make a decision by Friday. I haven't heard back, so I wanted to follow up with you, let you know I'm still interested and available. Please let me know if I'm still a candidate. Again, pretty much the same email from before, but this time, you know, they've given you a deadline. You're just reminding them, hey, I haven't heard anything, but I am interested. You have to remember, when we're doing all job search things, we're doing job search stuff, remember this. Focus on the process and not the outcome. I tell my clients this all the time. We can't control what the outcome is, but we can control the process, right? And the communication. You're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. If they don't meet their commitment, that is on them, not you. So just remember that. So when is following up too much? Right? I think sending 2 emails is probably about where you want to go. You don't want to continue to follow up with somebody that has no interest in talking to you. Makes sense, right? Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to send an email. It just really doesn't, right? So if you've done your part and you're following up, but you're not hearing back from the employer, that's on them, not on you, right? You've done your part and what you're supposed to be doing. So it looks like there's 2 things that are in play here. One would be normal silence. The other would be what could be a red flag, Okay. So normal silence, maybe they're still interviewing people. And they should, and they might even tell you from the get, hey, this is going to be a long process. We will have at least 4 interviews per candidate. And right now, we are interviewing 5 candidates for this position. So it might be at 2 to 3 weeks before you hear back on when we're doing a second interview, just because of everybody's time schedule. Okay, well, great. Now you have a timeline. They've actually told you what it is and what the expectation is. So, yes, follow up before close of business that day, but like, don't get anxious and keep following up because they've given you a realistic timeline for them. Right? By the way, this is one of the few things that the employer controls, which is the timeline on when they're hiring. Okay, so if they've given you a timeline, like respect that timeline. Okay, sometimes things will change, right? Maybe they have multiple interviews, but maybe like it takes a minute for the top people to sign off on it. Right? Like maybe we're waiting on an executive approval before we move forward and start making offers to people. Maybe some other things have happened in between. Life happens sometimes, and like not everybody's on the same page. Or like, what if the recruiter had an emergency, like their mom had to go to the hospital and they had to travel out of state. Right? Yes, somebody should be there to pick up the slack, but like recruiters are busy. They're working their workload and caseload, and now they have to manage somebody else's caseload because an emergency happened, and they may not be as timely as possible. These are all things that are fairly normal. All right. Some red flags where you might be in a position where you're about to get ghosted could be that they've given you a timeline and they didn't follow up. We just talked about that, right? That could be a red flag. Maybe the recruiter, who's been fairly communicative with you, stops emailing you back. That could be a red flag. Here's something to always remember, though. When this does happen, when you do get ghosted by the employer, just remember this. First remember this. I just did an episode last week, so go listen to last week's podcast. I don't think last week's podcast is up yet. I will have it up today before the end of the day. And if not, follow up with me. Be like, say, yo, you said you were gonna get that done. What's up with that? It'll get it done today. Last week's podcast and today's podcast will be up later today. So I did a whole episode last week about ghosting and what you should do about it. Okay, but if that happens, remember this: it says a lot more about them as a company than it does you as a candidate. Just because the employer's gone quiet does not mean you don't have value, does not mean that you have any less skill. I think for sure, like, the employer should always be putting their best foot forward during the interview process. I mean, after all, they want you to sign on with them. But how they treat you during the interview process is really telling on how they will treat you as an employee. Just is. So if they do ghost you during that process, probably they won't be very nice to you if you get employed there. Okay. Let's say you do hear back from the employer and you got rejected. They said that they went with another candidate. And that's okay. That's going to happen. Sucks. I'm sorry. It's never fun when you don't get the job. Two things real quick on that. First off, that's part of the process. It just is. And I don't mean for that to be or sound like a cop-out. But like every time, every time you go interview is not going to mean you're going to get an offer. It's just not. That's like saying or feeling like every time you get up to bat as a ball player, you're going to knock it out of the park every time. Sometimes you just ground out to third. So let's say you got rejected, okay? And so you got rejected, and it's still important to follow up. So you had a conversation with somebody, right? You should keep that lead warm, okay? It should never just like die. This is just like networking 101. So if you still want to work for the company, follow back up with them in 4 to 6 weeks. Okay? They've told you, hey, we want somebody else, that's fine. But follow up with them in 4 to 6 weeks. I say 4 to 6 weeks because, well, it depends on how well you got on with the hiring manager and recruiter. Like if they were laughing at your jokes and y'all were kind of clicking in the moment, 4 weeks. But if they were all just like, business, 6 weeks. Okay? And here's how that follow-up should go. Right? Here's how that email should go. Or DM. You could send a DM as well. Just real quick. In the chat, Sandra said it could be ghosting besides silence. Yes. Jeffrey Moore, good morning. Joe Daniels is in the chat asking, are you going to follow up by email or phone call? I just want to make sure I don't miss your connect. Great question. By the way, Joe will be here next week talking. He's a recruiter, CEO of Ascend Talent Partners. And go check him out, check his profile out, and be here next week for when we talk about what recruiters do. Now, great question, Joe. So, answer. I suggest when you do follow up that you, because we were talking about email, right? I suggest that you call first. Most likely, you're not going to get the recruiter on the line. You know why? Recruiters are busy. They don't have a lot of extra time to be fielding phone calls, right? So call first, and here's why. You're probably not going to get them on the phone. That's fine. You leave a very nice voicemail for them that goes, kind of like basically it will be a spoken version of what you will follow up with next on the email, which would be like, hey, Sally, it's Jason Hopper. We met last week for the project manager position. Just wanted to call and make sure I'm still a candidate because I am still interested in working there for you. Give me a call back when you get a minute. I'm also going to shoot you a quick email. And then the email says the exact same thing, right? But they can at least hear the excitement and your tone on the voicemail. They probably will not call you back. They will probably send an email. You've also said that you're going to send them an email. So they're probably going to, here's why. If we pick up the phone and call, I'm at least in a 5, maybe 10-minute conversation. I can answer an email in less than 2 minutes. So email's always faster, and you will get that response from them a lot faster by email. Yolanda said, shouldn't recruiters offer candidates grace too? Yes, I agree. Joe, thanks for popping in there and answering that question for Yolanda. Yolanda, you always have great questions. I appreciate it every single time. So remember to follow up. Keep that relationship and that lead warm. I'll tell you a story. I had a client, it's been like 3 years now. I had a client 3 years ago, and she interviewed for a position, and she didn't get the job. And I'm like, well, it's been like 4 weeks. You should pick up the phone and call them and follow up. And she was really adamant about not doing it. In fact, the words she said were, they didn't like me. Guys, one thing you need to understand, it's not about them liking you or not liking you. They just made a business decision based upon the information that they had at that time. Also, too, a lot of times had nothing to do with you. And the truth of the matter is, most of the times when that people don't get chosen for the job is because somebody came along before or right after you and had a better story than you did that resonated with the hiring manager. That's really the reason why you didn't get the offer. Somebody had a better story than you. That's it. That's it. And I'm sorry, and that sucks, but, has nothing to do with whether they liked you or not. They just made a different business decision. Again, you're not going to hit it out of the park every single time. You're just not. So, follow up. So this client, she was just not wanting to follow up. And I'm not really supposed to do this as a coach. As a coach, I'm supposed to offer advice, the best advice that I can offer somebody, and move on from there. But I really, really, really pressured her into following up and making that phone call. Again, not what I'm supposed to be doing as a coach, and I understand, but I did it anyway. Here's what happened. So she did call. She did get somebody on the phone, and because it was a panel interview. And that person was like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy that you called. We went with another candidate. We hired Joey internally. However, the department down the hall has a position that I think you would be a much better fit for. And if it's okay, I'm going to send your resume to my colleague, Joan, and I'm going to talk you up because I thought you were great. And hopefully Joan will get back to you soon." Guess what happened? Joan called my client. My client ended up getting the job. Guys, so much happens in follow-up you don't understand. Like you should never, ever, ever interview with someplace and never speak to the person again. Right? Like networking should always be moving forward. Always. It should never just die and that's the end of it. Provided you still want to work for that company. And by the way, a lot of the follow-up, it does not have to, continued follow-up. It does not have to be, "Hi, Mike, I am still interested in working for you in the company. Let me know if you have anything that's going to meet my skill set. Also, good idea, when we're doing continued follow-up, always attach your resume. This way, the recruiter does not have to go, what, Mike? Who's that again?" Because it's been like 6 weeks. And recruiters, they talk to a lot of people. So attach your resume to the email. That way they could just click it, open up the doc, and be like, "Oh, right, yes, he's the biz dev guy. I remember." Right? Make it easy for the recruiter. Right? But it doesn't always have to be that email or DM. Maybe you saw on their LinkedIn feed that they were at a baseball game. And so send them a baseball meme or a GIF, right? "You're killing me, Smalls," right? Just kind of a fun kind of thing, right? It doesn't always have to be, "I still want to work here for you in your company." It's just, you're just communicating. By the way, I do know some recruiters that prefer that you text them, right? So you've got their numbers, text them a funny GIF, move on, right? And just keep the conversation moving forward, always, 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 always. Oh my gosh, Ruth Sternberg is popped into the chat. Y'all are keeping Joe busy in that chat. Everybody saying hi. Good morning, Ruth. She said follow up with Scrooge. By the way, in May, and I believe it's May 13th, me and Ruth Sternberg are going to be doing a webinar on how to tell stories in the interview. You don't want to miss that. Trust me, I'll have plenty of marketing to go along with it for the month of May. It's going to be fire. Also, speaking of, if you guys happen to be in DFW, if you are local, I will be at the Workforce in Plano tonight at 5:30. From 5:30 to 6:30, I'm going to be doing a presentation on how to use AI in your job search. That is 1101 Resource Drive, Plano, Texas, 75074, 5:30. It's free. How to use AI in your job search, because if you're not, you should be. And also, we're going to talk about what you should not be doing using AI in the job search, because there's a lot of hiring professionals out there that are seeing a lot of things like carbon copy resumes and just all kinds of madness going on out there. People using AI the wrong way. So we will talk about how to use AI correctly in your job search tonight, 5:30. Be there. I will see you then. Okay. So continued follow-up is definitely something that you are going to want to be doing. Thank you, Wendy Herb, since you will be there this evening. I look forward to seeing you, Wendy. Wendy comes to almost every presentation I do, and I always appreciate it, and she always has very nice questions and a pleasant demeanor. So if nobody else is there, by the way, we were talking about networking, and continue networking and talking to hiring managers, recruiters, following up. Guys, there's currently 11 people watching live. We did have 13 at one point. You should be connecting with each other. Like, send a quick note. Not right now because you're watching the live stream, but afterwards, you know, who do we see? We saw Joe, we saw Wendy, we saw Yolanda, we saw Chandra. Go connect to all these people. Drop them a quick line. Hey, saw you on Jason's Caffeinate Your Career today. Great comment. Want to get connected. Done. Why? Why would you not do, first of all, why would you not do this? Once you understand, once you get this in your head, once you figure out that the next person you speak to could potentially be the unlock to your next great opportunity, things get really interesting really fast. Because if it's not that one, it's the next one, or the next one, or the next one, or the next one. And by the way, you should be doing this to work on starting to build community. Did you know that Yolanda Chin posted something today? She did. She talked about upselling and cross-selling. Haven't heard that term cross-selling, Yolanda? I mentioned you in the comment, but thank you again. Learned something new today. Y'all go check it out. Every single person that is in the chat right now has something to offer. Everyone. Sandra Dixon said, will the AI meeting be recorded? She's no longer in DFW. No, they don't have a way to record it, and it's also don't have a virtual option. The Workforce in Plano stays open late Tuesdays. They're actually open until, I believe, 7:30. Their whole thing is they want butts in seats. They want you to show up and be there in person. And so it's not recorded. They've not offered that option. They've not offered the virtual option because they want people in their building. This way they can go back to the state of Texas and say, we had this many people show up. So sorry about that. I will probably do a presentation at some point, virtual, on how to use AI in the job search, but nothing is in the immediate future. So, okay. What follow-up? We talked about follow-up. We talked about how important follow-up is. We talked about what follow-up is not now. Follow-up is not begging. It is not, oh, don't do this. Did you see my previous email? I can't tell you how much people hate that. I hate it so much. Because the implication is I did something wrong. Did you see my previous email? Yeah, and I didn't respond because we're not hiring you. Punk? Just kidding. They probably won't call you punk. That's not very professional. But don't do that. Anytime you send a follow-up, make it like it's like, not, and again, give people time, right? Follow-up is also not apologizing for following up. Hey, I don't mean to bother you, but again, it's professional communication. That's all it is. And it's also not asking for reassurance. Okay? Like it is none of those things. Final and key takeaways, because we're getting close to time. You have to follow up. Right? You just have to. I don't care if you want to do it or not. It has to be done. It's part of the job search process. I told you a story at the beginning of how I ended up not getting a job because I didn't follow up. That's a real thing. Also, continue to keep the relationship and the networking moving forward all the time, every time. It is the thing that makes the difference. If you want to continue, if you want to work for that company still, please keep the networking moving forward. Okay. Guys, that's been Caffeinate Your Career for today. Fun question for the day. Actually, it's not quite yet opening day, but baseball is right around the corner. My Rangers have been doing fairly well so far in spring training. I get updates on my phone. So that's my team. That's my baseball team for life, since I was a kid. So who's your favorite baseball team? Tell me in the chat. Also, next week, Joe Nanius, who you saw in the chat, will be here with me live. He is a recruiter. We'll be talking about how recruiting works and what recruiters are looking for in candidates and pretty much everything recruiting. So come back next week. We'll see you then. In the meantime, have a great week. Bye.